Another human footprint was discovered by a Jerry McDonald in 1987. The fossil was very well preserved. These footprints were discovered in Permian rock, which is supposed to be much earlier than those found in the Cretaceous time period. A more recent discovery of a fossilized footprint is that of a dinosaur crossing a human footprint, with part of the dinosaur print in the human one. This is referred to as the Delk print. This fossil was examined and CT scanned with 800 X-rays to make sure that these were genuine human and dinosaur prints. This would indicate that the compression points and all other aspects of the fossil would have to show that it was genuine. The results were very conclusive. Everything showed that it was the real thing. It could not have been a carving. A carving would not have the impression and pressure points of a human print like this one did. Some still deny the authenticity of this fossil to this very day, even though the evidence seems to be overwhelming. There have also been quite a number of fossilized human footprints found in other parts of the U.S., as well as other nations. The Paluxy River area is by no means the only area that these human prints have been found where dinosaur fossils or prints are also found. A man named Max Hahn discovered a buried hammer in the Cretaceous layer, which is again a dinosaur time period. The handle was petrified and the metal part of it had a very special coating that kept it from rusting. The formation of this quality of metal would be almost impossible today, unless it was formed under very special conditions that may be created in a laboratory. The fact is, human fossils / artifacts have been found in every layer of the earth. And that includes even the Cambrian layer of rock where the so-called simplest of life forms were supposed to have begun. This would indicate that humans have been alive in every so-called time period. A sandal print was discovered with a trilobite imprint in the impression. Trilobites are supposed to be one of the very first creatures in the so-called evolutionary story. This would indicate that this sandal print was over 500 million years old. But is that the only possibility? That is, that humans have lived in every time period? There is another possibility, but not well accepted over the last 150 years. Instead of humans living with dinosaurs in ages past, could it be possible that all creatures lived together on Earth during the last few thousand years? So instead of humans living with dinosaurs, could it be that they simply lived with us? We have already seen that the so-called geological column, as shown to us in books, is fiction, which incidentally is still regarded as accurate by a majority of scientists. And also, fossils must be buried quickly so that they can fossilize. Even now, many evolutionists are admitting this. But this idea is contrary to what we have been told since elementary school. Since the so-called geological column is rather mixed up, that is, out of order, could it be possible that the layers of strata, that is, the rock layers, were made quickly by a catastrophic event? Like a gigantic flood, as mentioned earlier? That would seem to make sense because almost all of the layers with fossils in them are formed with water, which formed the sedimentary rock. This is actually what was believed for centuries before the idea of evolution was introduced. We already looked at dating the fossils by using the carbon-14 dating methods, and how this leads to fossils being a few thousand years old rather than many millions. But let's go a little further and see how the measurement of the rocks themselves leave much to be desired. Let's look at how the ages of fossils are measured. Fossil age is simply determined by the age of the layer of the rock that it is found in. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? The methods used to measure these rocks have been shown to be horrendously inaccurate by literally millions of percent. Metamorphic rocks, that is, rocks formed by heat, such as a volcano, that have been measured to be hundreds of thousands of years old, up to billions of years old, are discovered to be just thousands, hundreds, and sometimes even less than 100 years old. There is simply no accurate way to measure any fossil unless it has carbon-14 in it, and then it is much younger than millions of years old. And fossils themselves are found in sedimentary rock, not metamorphic rock. If we look at the so-called geological column, it would appear that a huge flood would explain the mix-up of the layers, and the mixing of the fossils throughout the different layers much better than the slow process of evolution. A flood would leave a general order of marine and less mobile creatures being on the lower layers, with lighter and more mobile creatures higher up. There are enormous amounts of proof to support the idea that there was a worldwide flood in the past. The best piece of evidence to support this idea is the vast number of marine fossils that are in every continent in the world, and in the very highest mountain ranges in the world. The idea of a worldwide flood was well accepted until just a few decades ago. It appears that new evidence is causing a huge resurgence of this idea. Because of the nature of a gigantic flood, mixture would be common. And that is indeed the case. To be continued in the next lesson.